Hi, Kelly.
Hi,
I
Kay.
should I say hola from sunny Spain?
I know, lucky devil, bit of a different backdrop for you today.
Yeah, just slightly. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking a bit white, but I'm facing the sunshine. I'm facing the window, so I just thought
Yeah,
I'd get that in.
exactly. Drop that in. Well, it's I'm looking out my window over to the Forth in Scotland, and I can't actually see it because it's so grey and dull. But
Oh,
you can send all the
yeah.
sunshine vibes across.
I'm happy to do that. I'll definitely send some sunlight your way. And talking of which, I think I'll do what we normally do and light a candle to open the space. So interestingly, I was after our last session, I was contacted by a lovely lady in our Going Beyond the Veil community, another Kelly, and she was suggesting that we might like to use coloured candles because you can match the colour of the candle to the intention that you're choosing to set, which is a lovely idea. But basically, the reason why we like candles to open the space is just intentionally to bring in the light. To bring in the light to the session, and I don't really normally have any coloured candles, but funnily enough, today it is a yellow candle in a yellow jar. And it's funny because I was just feeling solar plexus energy so strongly just before the session today, and I mentioned it to you, didn't I? And what were you telling me about that solar plexus energy coming in
Yes.
for you?
So I had Going Beyond the Veil session on myself on Friday night with the lovely Vicky Thompson, and she pulled a card at the end, and it was all around the energy in my solar plexus and how
Oh,
having
there you
that
go.
embody that power and strength. So yeah, and then you were like, using yellow energy today.
And
Excellent.
obviously, as we know, the solar plexus obviously relates to our identity, our sense of self, often our confidence. And so that just also seemed appropriate for today's session because, as we mentioned in the last one, we were feeling it was important for each of us to share our own story, our own kind of awakening story, and what the path's been like for us so far. And I think to do that does take a little bit of courage, doesn't it, to be vulnerable, to be open in this way. And because the spotlight is on you today, Kelly, because I'm going to be asking you about your journey so far. And so again, I think it's nice that we're bringing in this solar plexus energy to help support us with that. And I've got my lapis lazuli on today, so for my throat chakra, so it's to help to speak openly and with truth. And with that, we just to open the space today and to ask as we open it, maybe we'll be guided by light, by truth, and by love. And may each word that is spoken flow from the heart and to reach those who most need to hear it. And so may our conversation bring clarity, comfort, and inspiration, and reminding us that we are each of us all deeply connected to Source, to each other, and to the wisdom that lies within. Ishnya siatiakiakiakosusuna iana shisisiatiakoa sina ea siatiakiakosusuna iana sisiatiakiakoe shina sitiakiakosusunia ea tiatiakoa e sisiana shia sususuni ea siatiakiakoaina sisisiato tukusuna. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So thank you for allowing me to open the space, Kelly. And I think without further ado, I'm going to leap in. Like I say, turning that spotlight on you today, my lovely. And really, because I think, from the conversations that we have with others and those that we meet and within those spiritual communities that we're part of online, there are quite a few commonalities, aren't there, in experiences that people have on this awakening path. But it's also clear that it's very, very individual to each of us. And so I just really would love to hear more about looking back for you, when was that moment where you kind of really became aware of your awakening journey having kind of started? When did you start to really sort of notice it?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because, as you say, it was a really gradual build up and things were happening. Well, I would say to me, but now you can say for me, um, really slowly. But I got to a point actually where in 2024 I decided to start my own business, and there was so in the January I was like I had my startup money, had a business coach. I was flying. I wanted to work with family business owners on bringing in purpose-led practices into their business and everything on paper. Well, that's exactly what I should be doing. I just done a master's and everything and all my background. But yeah, and then got going with that, got to about the Easter time and had all my packages together. I was really networking on LinkedIn, and then very suddenly my husband ended up in hospital. Luckily, nothing too serious.
Oh,
That was in the April, and then I was like, right, get going again. And then in the May, I had a bereavement within the family, very sudden loss, and my family down in England, and it was a huge shock because it was somebody quite young, and I've got quite a bit. And any bereavement within a family is pretty harrowing, but very big
yeah,
family left behind lots of sisters and grandchildren and things. So that was that. And then at the same time, my eldest, who'd been under lots of different medical teams for about 2 years, got diagnosed with elder Danlos syndrome. I still get my head around that. And then at the same time, like a week later, they've got additional support needs as well and lots of things going on. And I've very sort of had to support quite a lot as a mother and as a carer. And they just announced that just before their 18th birthday, they were moving out. So I was like, what do you mean? Where are you going? Because you've just had this diagnosis and I need you with me because I have to do this. And they were like, no, I can't live here anymore. Like just completely rejected the family unit. Went to live with friends, not too far away, luckily. So gave them their
yeah,
space, and yeah. So then I was like, sort of heading into summer times. I was like, right, okay, let's. So over the summer period, I was like, I'm going to rework everything, ready to go in the August when the kids went back to school. Met some really lovely networking groups, a really lovely CEO group, and was like, right, okay, I've now got actual customers. I'm going to do branding, work on their social media accounts, and then did some workshops. And nothing was like sticking. So I thought, have I got like money blocks? What's going on here? Because I was also like following these
yeah,
spiritual people online as well. So I was listening to their podcasts and like intuitive coaches. So I signed up for all these different courses. And then very quickly, like the money was slowly dwindling. People were saying, how's it going? I was like, oh yeah, great. But underneath, and I'd always said to my husband, like, we'll give it a year because obviously with these things, you
yeah,
never know how it's going to work out. And the economy started to sort of dwindle with I know it sounds a bit strange, but like Trump, and then people didn't really want to bother about like purpose-led practices. Like, we're just worried about like where the next pound's coming from and why would we want to invest
yeah,
that and that sort of thing. So got to the winter and I was just in a real sort of deep spiral because I thought, how can I tell everybody that this new business is failing? I've running out of money. The debts are maybe piling up, when you feel like Christmas is
mm,
coming. I thought, right. And
yeah,
some of the people that I were following online were saying, if you're not following your soul purpose, then you will be hitting blocks. I was like, well, what's my sole purpose then? And they were like, it could take years to find out. And I was like, no, I've not got years. Like, I'm hitting nearly 50 here. Like, this is, I've already done a few U-turns and things. I was like, right. So I thought, how can I find out what my sole purpose is? And of course, my guides at the time, which I didn't realize, told that this American lady came up on my Instagram and she read soul contracts. So I was like, oh, but she had a waiting list. So I was like, oh, right, okay. Anyway, and then this English based company or lady popped up, and I was like, oh, when I read all her information, I was like, I need a reading and I need it now. So I was like, when's the quickest you can fit me in? And she was like, oh, I'm a bit busy just now. And I was like, right, countdowns, had to wait 2 weeks. So I gave her my birth name, and it's all to do with like numerology and everything. So we had a really
Yeah.
good chat. And basically, I've got 10-10 energy with that reading. And again, I paid for the service and I've got the reading, but I didn't go into loads of detail. I don't know all my numbers, but I would just remember her saying, you're here to teach something that hasn't been taught yet, and you are building it brick by brick, and there is no rush. You have time, and you've got to stop like over analyzing. Like, I think because of my background and my industry that I was working in, I always could see like 10 steps ahead, but you're not doing.
Yeah.
And she was the one that said, to do that, you need to get into nature, you need to ground, you need to switch off. And I think in the last episode, that's when I spoke about being on the walks and like noticing little things.
Yeah.
So not much happens in the business space, as you know, Christmas time. And I knew that my husband was getting an operation in the January, a knee replacement, and on the 11th or something. And I thought, right, I'm going to take that time to obviously help support him, but also just really like last ditch effort with my business. And then randomly in my
Yeah.
inbox, this email appeared saying, thank you for signing up for the 5-day event. We start on Monday. And I was like, what have I signed up for? So I clicked on it, and it was going beyond the vow, and it was like talking about working with your spirit team, finding your purpose. And I thought, well, one, I do not remember signing up for this, but two, they're on at 11:11 in the mornings this week. And I thought, well, Justin will be home by then. He'll be upstairs recuperating. I will just take the time to listen to this. What's the worst that can happen, or nothing to lose? And every day was a different meditation. And then even that was by the end of it, obviously there was a payment, because then you could sign up to become part of the community, get taught how to hold the sessions. And I was like, "I'm not sure this is what I need to do. One, because that's more money going out rather than it just
Yeah.
potentially supposed to be getting the money in. And yeah, so I thought, right, I've been asking for a sign. I've been asking what is my purpose, and this might be a way to do that. So I took another week
Yeah.
and I took my time, and then I was like, no, I'm signing up. And I went for the monthly option, and I felt that was manageable and something that I'd be able to afford. And yeah, so that was this. I feel like, in answer to your question, that's when things really started to like shift for me,
Yeah.
because not only have I now discovered there's a whole new side to what I'm able to do and why I'm here, but by the April, my business turned, because I'm now collaborating with my stepfather, and we're working with clients from he's semi-retired, and he was a property developer with really close links to the golf industry, which is really big in
All
Scotland.
right.
So we've now got clients that we're helping to support and develop um, golf clubs, which is funny enough what we did in 2008, before the financial crash. And very sadly, my family lost the family business. So I feel like it's a full circle moment. I only had one child
Circle.
then.
Yeah.
Now I've got two. Sorry, now I've got three. I've got three children. I had three children in 5 years. And yeah, so that was that. And now um in the new year at the same time, I was like, I think I want another dog. And I was like, what? Why would I want another dog? Like, not much of an income coming in. And then I had a session, and I met my spirit puppy, and I mentioned it to my husband, and he was up for it. Anyway, we got her, we got her in May, and it was our 20th wedding anniversary gift to each other, because I was looking at a
Ah.
ring and maybe a weekend away. But and I remember having a session with you, and even before the day that I got her, I was like, why are we getting another puppy? What are we doing? And you were like, no, everything's good. And like, she just brings so much like joy and love. So I'm just following the breadcrumbs, and yeah, just loving what, just really looking at the turning point of that, all of that was
Yeah.
for me, and what it can open up and bring into your life.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating, actually.
Well, I mean, you're touching there on some of the signs and the shifts that you've noticed, since kind of kind of really kind of integrating this and kind of following your intuition and receiving more guidance and being more connected to your guides. Are there any other like significant sort of signs or shifts that you've noticed along the way?
Yeah, I think it is knowing that it isn't just waking up one morning and being like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because even though we all have a purpose and why we chose to be on the earth at this time, we still have a lot of underlying sort of not energy, but we've gone through maybe lots of lifetimes. We've got things that have happened to us in our lives. I'm now 48, nearly 49, and I've had a really fulfilling, happy life. But there has been trauma, there has been events that have sort of maybe held me back. So I think at the beginning of the Growing Beyond the Vow, which is when I feel my awakening kicked in, I needed I'm saying a lot of healing. Like it wasn't just,
Yeah.
oh, these are your gifts, off you go. Like it was really, and you have to really work with like visibility. Like maybe that's why my other business wasn't performing then, because I didn't realize I had visibility issues and thoughts,
Ah, yeah.
beliefs. So it's not until you start like peeling the layers of the onion off, you're like, oh, so I've got that to work on next. And then you're like, oh, I'm ready to go. No, you've got this to work on next. So you have to really be open, although we all want it and we want it now, to put in the work because it has to be when you're ready, doesn't it? You're
Yeah.
laughing.
Yeah, no, because I have patience is not a natural virtue of mine, I have to say. I'm not good at waiting for things.
No.
But I mean, you did touch there on some of the because I know you mentioned about the issues, the challenges you were facing with your business, obviously the your husband being admitted to hospital, a devastating family bereavement, but obviously looking back on it now, do you think there was any particular sort of message for you or what lessons there were in these kind of challenges and
Hmm.
obstacles that you had to overcome?
So I think for my eldest moving out, because I forgot to mention that this year the connection is back again. Um, I feel that for me to be able to follow my soul purpose, that energy needed to be removed, but not removed as in like I'll never speak to that child again, you know,
Oh,
because I am a really nurturing person, and that's I always knew that I wanted children, and that, it's something that is
yeah.
with me. And when I met my husband, like it's probably one of the first things that we spoke. Do you want kids? Like without being too like chasey. Do you want family? Because if I met somebody that didn't want children, I wouldn't have been with them. But that's a side point. So
Yeah.
um yeah, I think that you have to understand that when things are removed or changed within your environment, it's to allow space. And I can see it now looking bird's eye down,
Yeah.
just to breathe, because I now truly, truly believe, having been a carer, because I've got another child with additional support needs, and also my husband is autistic. So I was very much in this
Hmm.
carer mentality, while at the same time working on my own needs and thinking, oh, I'm really good at running businesses and working with clients, and I'm going to do that as well. That until you start nurturing yourself and pouring into
Mm.
you, then you can't possibly, how can you, one, help others, to live your soul purpose? So yeah, and I've got friends actually, one friend particularly that's had a bit of a tough time at the moment, and they've just felt that everything's crumbling, like, on all aspects of their life, and now they're very slowly building, and I think it's just a way of like guys wanting us to just sit and reset and just because if we're maybe not been listening
Yeah.
to the nudges, I don't know. So they have to say, right, let's remove this, let's take this away, and then let's just give them the space. But it's very difficult when it's quite traumatic experiences that people are experiencing to get to them to that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And I think that's one of the things that we most have to work at, and that's what a lot of the circumstances and things and the experiences that come up, because it is about us recognizing our own worthiness, really. And like you say, giving ourselves that nurturing and care, because often it's just all going outwards all of the
Yeah.
time. But and yes, it is coming from a caring, kind, and nurturing nature, and I'm not saying it is that, but also sometimes it is coming from that lack of self-worth of not being not, or also an unwillingness to receive. There's some insecurity around not allowing ourselves to receive from others, about needing to be the one that gives, but not allowing others to give back to us. So again, because there's a vulnerability, isn't there, in allowing yourself to receive, and that can be tough for many of us, and we don't necessarily recognize that at the time. But it's a cliche for a reason. They say you can't pour from an empty cup, is it? We have to walk the walk as well as talk the talk, don't we? And it's I think that's the thing. We don't always practice what we preach. We're always telling other people that, oh, you should be taking, no, you should be prioritizing yourself. You should be doing this for yourself. Or you need to like allow space for and then we don't always do it
Uh,
ourselves. And I think that's why it comes up so often. It just always there's lots of little nudges and reminders, often when we're holding space for somebody else, of like, well, yes, this message that's coming up for your client, for your friend or whoever it is you're holding space for, it's also relevant for you too. So we have to kind of go, oh yes.
And I think also we're not very honest. Like when I said when people were asking me how things were going, oh yeah, great, but deep down, yourself it isn't.
Yeah.
At the weekend, I saw family, and one of my family members had a session with me, and we were chatting at the end, and they were like, "Oh my goodness, they said to me, you're just so much calmer." And I thought, oh, I always thought I was a calm person, but obviously that was my aura or my energy that I was giving off, because I was in that state of needing to care, needing to perform, needing to, and there wasn't any point. I was saying needing to bring in money, like it wasn't my husband going, right, cracking the whip. I think it was all pressures that I was putting on myself, like you say, because
Yeah.
we always want to, you know, give as much as we can and do our best, and but that, I think, rest and that nurturing yourself is just as important. Like I had
Yeah.
a nap yesterday, and I used to really beat myself up about that, because I have got underlying health conditions myself that cause fatigue, and then obviously reaching perimenopause and things like that. But I've been told in my guides that it's a really, really important part of my journey is to rest, and it's not laziness,
Mm.
because I'm doing so much energy work now, and there's stuff that happens while I'm sleeping as well, and like I'm constantly receiving messages. So of course, and even if I'm giving sessions, and you'll know yourself, Kate, when you work with clients, like we need to close off the space and not it. But I don't feel like my energy is being siphoned now for the wrong reasons. It's being used in a positive way. However,
Yeah.
it does mean that I do have to take some downtime, you know, and not feel guilty about it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, and
interesting.
it's wonderful that you can do that now, and that you can allow yourself. But I think it's, again, that does seem to be coming up for a lot of people, and I think it's sort of, we're brought up. It's like, be busy, be doing, be active, striving, working hard, always trying to achieve and everything. We're always being constantly compared to others, but I feel like that's a way of just keeping us distracted, where it's in that rest and in that quiet time and in those spaces where you go within, where you truly connect. But you're not, if you're busy, busy, busy all the time, then you're just not doing that. And I think sometimes that's why our guys step in and something happens that literally forces us, like we're literally forced to stay in bed or something, or something that we were planning or looking forward to. It kind of doesn't happen because we're being made to take a break, basically, because it is important to do that. But it's, yeah, because it's actually feels counterintuitive because we've been conditioned to be like, oh, if you're not doing, then you're basically being lazy and unproductive. And we really have to know that actually no, our intuition is telling us to rest. Our intuition wants us to rest, or and to take things easier. And isn't it funny when you do, and when you do allow yourself that then suddenly things just happen a lot more easily,
Yeah,
and you can suddenly go through a phase where you just think, wow, like suddenly it's like a catalyst, and everything sort of comes together, and things sort of fall into place. And you've kind of all of us, you've got that energy to sort of do it all,
yeah.
and you just think, oh, that
It
was
was,
it
it
was
was
just it was so much easier than you thought it was going to be, because it is about timing as well. It's allowing that timing, and then everything sorts into place. And I think that's why we have to be patient, because and why they don't always let us know what's coming up for us, why we're not allowed to always know everything, is because then we'll just push it. We'll try and push it and force it, and it's not going to happen with that divine timing. And the things need to slot into place. It needs to be the right place, the right time, the right people, the right circumstances, all of these things. And then it happens and unfolds exactly as it's meant to be, and then it's all right. But yeah, so I think that's why I'm having to learn this lesson of being patient, because and why they won't let me know certain things. It's because I will just try and I will try and make it happen faster.
and when you were talking there, Kate, I was just thinking, programming. It's interesting, always being busy. So one of the time management skills I used to use and using my team was like having a to-do list, writing it like before you go to sleep, and then as soon as you wake up, that's it. They're your tasks, and that's how I lived my life. And it worked in my mind. I was like, oh, that's great because then I don't have to think about it while I'm sleeping. It's there for when, and I know exactly what I'm doing the next day, and I'm on track. And da, da. But now I'd like, if you told me to do that, I'd be like, no, thank you, because how do you know, like, where like certain things that you need to do, like get the kids up, get them to school, and walk the dogs and things. But like, why live your life like that now? Like, I just, for me, it's I can see how much I've grown with that sort of mindset, because you have to trust and know. And it isn't about like wandering around, not really knowing what you're doing and stuff like that, but it's just giving yourself that breathing space to really focus on what it is that you're here to do. And I feel that's really worked, because when I had that nap the other day, there was a couple of client things with my 3D business and stuff that had overgone from last week. And actually, when I sort of came round, I thought, oh, that's my phone. It was my stepdad, and he answered the things. He'd already had conversations with the person that I was thinking that I needed to speak to, and he basically just done it all. And I was like, oh, that's
Yeah,
great. Thanks so much for letting me know. Like laughing to myself, because I thought, well, I didn't have to do that, because it all just got taken
yeah.
care of while I was asleep. I never told him that. He was
That's
like, oh,
brilliant.
yes.
No, 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 but I just love that all, like you say, as you were resting and doing what you're supposed to do, which is rest, and that all got taken care of. Yeah, and you didn't,
Right.
but there was no need to kind of duplicate that effort, so to speak, and that was something that he was just happy to do. And
Yeah.
I think again, and there's no need to, and then just interested to know that, because sometimes somebody else has done something and we can get a bit like, oh, I was going to do that. I was just thinking about it, or I was, and we can just, whereas you can just say, oh, thank you, that's great. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, we don't have to get all guilty or justify ourselves or say, oh, I was going to do that, or I was thinking about that. But that's something else that we kind of have to let go of, is that kind of, I don't know, defensiveness, isn't it?
And I think it's different when you work with, I had the dynamic in my previous role. Obviously, I had a CEO and I was second in charge, and obviously there was things that I had to work differently, because I couldn't just say to her, "Oh, I just woke up this morning and thought I'll just do that instead, and then that'll all be fine." So it is different when you've got any problem, but it is okay to still have like a job while you're still exploring. Well,
Yeah.
not a case of running off into the wilderness and being like cutting off all the real
Ties.
reality stuff. Yeah. Just finding
Yeah.
that balance.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I mean, we are here in this 3D world, and we do still
Yeah.
have to we do still have to survive in it, doesn't it? But it's just being able to kind of have that discernment and recognize things and know that there are different ways of doing things, isn't there? And it doesn't, but yes, lots of people obviously still have that day-to-day job or that employment that they have to do. But even so, there's things you can do with regards to like protecting your energy around that now, maybe having some of those chats, bringing things into the conversation without fear of judgment from your colleagues and things, and just, yeah, and allowing your intuition to come into play. And so maybe you're not in a position to completely ignore or to do this, if you're in paid employment, but you can still connect in with your guides and say, what do I need to focus on
Yeah,
today?
yeah, just
Yeah,
to help
you can
you with
still,
day-to-day stuff. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And like you say, it's not about sitting back and doing nothing and going, oh, well, yes, I know you're paying me to do this job, but actually my guys are saying, but no, I mean, it is all about that sort of balance and about being realistic, but just finding other ways to bring that connection and flow and that intuition into your everyday life, isn't there? And it's interesting. A lot of people do decide to take up, self-employment, or perhaps they've retired and find that they're going down this path. So this is the time where they have that freedom to kind of really explore their purpose further and to connect with that. It does seem to be happening at the moment for a lot of us a little bit later in life, doesn't it? And I do think that's no coincidence. It's interesting how things like perimenopause for women, menopausal symptoms, a lot of those symptoms are very similar to awakening symptoms. And I think it is all part and parcel of it. And it's for a lot of women, it can be the thing that kind of makes them start to question, really.
yeah.
Because
I can
that's a
definitely
big,
see the connection for me with that because when I started my master's during lockdown, like 2021, that was all orchestrated as well, how I got onto that course. But that at the time I didn't know how my guides and everything worked with me. So I did that part time and but I didn't have perimenopausal symptoms until like the end of 2022. And I remember being at a Christmas party and being like, oh, why is my hair not sitting right? And then so that whole of 2023, when I was trying to find like what it is I'm supposed to be doing really with like before I started my business, I completely like lost my identity as well. Because you're right, you
oh,
don't feel like yourself. And I was working in the events industry quite high up and running an agency. And I had a passion for events and I was really, really good at it. And I suddenly couldn't do it anymore. And I just the
yeah,
little things were like about to tip me over the edge. I just wanted to run, literally run for the hills. And I was like, it was like a light bulb. And I was like, what is going on? And then, of course, then I'm like suddenly realizing that this is what's now
yeah,
into my body and my hormones and you know but also at the same time you've got teenagers, most women are working and running a household, I had caring responsibilities, all the above, and as women you do it because that's, I didn't question that, but at the same time you don't feel like you are the same person either, and it's
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty scary, and you can, yeah, see why some people completely change direction at that moment in their life.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, luckily for you, it's it's definitely been the right direction, hasn't it, my love? And so, talking about your journey so far, what's what's going on for you at the moment?
Okay.
Because I know we've mentioned before, or we've touched on before, about this new healing modality of yours. So, where are we at with that?
Yes, so I joined Go Bird around the January, and as I've told you, I was like, "What is my purpose?" And then some of the sessions, Bianca was probably my third or fourth session is really good at, and I use this in my sessions now, asking for a glimpse into the future. And
Oh
it was
yeah.
a really powerful facilitator. And it was like this TV screen. It was like all crackly. And she's like, that's okay. She just said, let's bring it back, like let just and showed me like the next 3 months, which was lovely. Um, so then I was like, oh, it's okay, Becca. I don't think I'm supposed to know. And then when did I find out? Oh, a couple of months ago, like during the summer, Serena, who founded Going Beyond the Vow, she had a highest timeline reading with a lady called Natasha, and I will get her
Hmm.
surname and I'll put it in the notes. And then some of the other Veilers had, because we have spiritual chats, don't we, within the community? There
Yeah.
was something that we were all talking
Yeah.
about. So I was like, oh my goodness. So they were really raving about these highest timeline readings. I was like, oh, I'd love some of that. And it wasn't a lot of money. And it was something that I could afford at the time. And I got my highest timeline reading done. And she came back saying that I'm here to be a womb activator, and I will work with women's sacral portal to bring them back to their divine feminine, and for them to be able to go on to create, and all those sort of things. And I was like, okie dokie, I don't know anything about any of this, like using the Isis card.
Yeah.
So I've been working a lot on that. I should have gone to Glastonbury in August as part of my highest timeline reading, and although I kept calling that in, there was a few barriers to that. Like I've got an auntie that lives in Devon. And I was like, oh, I'll go and stay with her. And she says she'd drive me. And I was going to the goddess temple to get me activated there. But then she was away and I couldn't get the date sorted. So, and it's 11:11 while I'm saying this, everybody. So I just noticed the time. And so then I had a little bit of a disconnect because a couple of other sessions that I held on Veilers, one for you and another lady, Stacey. You were channeling messages for me, and I hadn't told either of you this was what my highest timer was, and your guys were
No, yeah.
getting you to tell me that I'm working with womb healing, activating, and lots more information was coming through. So I've written everything down, and I had two blocks. I had a block tell that was I'm not special. So who am I to be a womb healer? Like, what is this? Which was 100% true. And I also had my own womb trauma that I had to heal from a pregnancy before I got married. So very sadly, I lost a baby through illness, and
Oh.
it came through, and I had to work with that energy, and I worked with it with a session with Paul, and I've met my spirit child, and he's one of my guides, and it was actually a really
Ah.
special moment. So, and it came through that he wasn't supposed to be part of me. I don't really understand why I had to go through that experience yet, but anyway, that's a sidebar. But yeah, so I've had those cleared, and then yeah, I've had some light codes during a session with Elaine. She did the Lionsgate portal meditation. I think you were on it with me, Kate, and
Yeah,
a
yeah.
really lovely short 8-minute powerful meditation on the 8th of
Activation.
August and activation. Yes, and like we would, and this beautiful golden scroll came out, didn't it? And it was like, this is what you
Yeah.
did. And then Elaine had the rods for us, so we could ask questions, and I was like, am I fully activated to be a womb healer? And it was like, yes, and things like
Oh,
that.
yes.
I've had a bit of a
Yeah.
disconnect, I have to say, but again, a recent session on Friday, it was talking about how long does it take to birth a baby, and it obviously, as we know, it's 9 months, so we're coming into the ninth month of the year, and I just feel so energized and ready to
Yeah.
literally birth my new modality. And after my nap yesterday, I sat thrashing out some different ways that I can deliver it and work with people. So I will be having some little beta testing courses and things.
Oh, yeah. I'll definitely put my hand up for that. Count
Yeah,
me
and
in.
obviously I'll be explaining a little bit more as to why women need to heal their wombs and why it's really important. Because at the moment I'm still technically learning that side of it as well, but I've got everything that I need to, and I can heal wounds. Like your guys tell us, you can heal wounds. Like it was literally like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So it'll be some in-person
yeah.
stuff, but it'll also be working one-to-one with women. So yeah, I'm actually now, as I'm speaking about it with you on this platform, it's more, I'm feeling like I'm embodied it now, and it's
Yes.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah,
we had a
yeah,
discussion before the recording to say, listen, we asked for what our purposes are, like just be open because I would never have put money on this being what it is that I'm
yeah.
here to
No,
do on a higher level because I am still to do my um going beyond the vow sessions. I've got my healing hand ability, which I think will evolve into other things. I now intuitively work with people with coaching, life coaching. So, that the womb activation part of me will become more prominent, but at the moment there's still other ways that I can work with people and
yeah,
support them, which is what I'm excited about as well. Because really, that's what I used to mentor people. I had teams. I used to so I'm still doing that, but in a different
yeah.
way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because we talk about, well, what's my sole purpose? But we mean soul as in soul, soul, not as in not as in only. So and that's it doesn't. Oh, it's not one thing, is it? It's we might birth these new modalities, or we might go off down a certain particular modality or path of everything. But it's all just part and parcel of it. It doesn't mean we're tied to only providing one thing. It's just all of these things kind of integrate. They're all part of our path, our learning, our experiences, our empathy, the things that happen to us often are so that we can relate to others who then go through the same thing. And that's why we experience certain things in our life, so that those who then have the same experience, are drawn to our energy, and we can then help them because we can relate to them and they can relate to us because we've all been through the same thing. And I think that's the case with you, with that, unfortunate, with that loss of your child when you were ill, that birth that didn't happen. That's because, again, unfortunately, sadly, so many women do experience that loss. And it helps them energetically to know that you understand that you completely understand it. And I think that's just a big part of it, that it's all there for a reason. Like I said, that child, but he wasn't meant to come into this world at that time, but that was serving a purpose. And obviously he's a spirit, so he's eternal, so he's completely unharmed. I think it's kind of being able to see it from a different perspective and to know that he's with you and one of your guides. And he obviously just volunteered to step in for that short time.
Yeah. And obviously at the
Yeah,
time, it was really upsetting and, everybody deals with
yeah,
things in different ways. But I have to say, when it got brought to my attention in the summer, I was like, I didn't have to remind myself that it had happened, but I'm talking over
yeah,
years ago and everything that's happened in my life since. And I would never ever imagine that I was carrying any trauma. Obviously, we carry it, we store it, and it happens to us. But I feel like on an emotional level, I can't remember the last time that I would have ever been taken back to that memory. Now, whether I'd suppressed it
no,
so far down, Kate, that it just wasn't there. And obviously, when you have your future children, and some people, unfortunately, that isn't um they're they're not able to do so.
yeah,
Different things happen in your life, and maybe your mind will do that. But I found it really, really fascinating that that was a block. And I can remember releasing it. And I had to apologize to Paul because I was like, oh my goodness, like I haven't thought about this. And it was like a huge release. And it felt wonderful once it had happened. And then to be told that, they're around me
yeah,
and that I can feel them in my heart space. And you're right, they are safe, and apparently they're 5 years old in spirit just now, but actually, as I grow with my spiritual gifts, he grows. So it would be
oh,
the person
yeah,
when I get to meet him on the other side,
yeah,
So
oh,
I
yeah,
think Paul was trying to say that if he comes in different forms, like in 10 years' time, if it's like a 20-year-old, it is him
yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Quite
It's
fascinating.
kind of like a sort of parallel kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful though, isn't
I
it?
know.
But But I mean, I don't, we do sort of suppress things in order to just get on with our lives because we're not really, I don't think generally at the moment that society supports us in having some major release because nobody knows how to, we don't really know how to deal with it, do we? And now we do because that's why it happens when we're sort of held in these safe spaces during these kind of sessions with someone who energetically who is able to do that. And that's why we can have that release. But at the time, it's kind of even just talking about things, it gets to a point where you almost feel like people don't want to hear it anymore, or you don't want to burden others with your emotions or feelings, and we do kind of just you know suppress things and then get on with it, don't we? Because that's what we're taught to do. It's almost what's expected. But even if you've not sort of suppressed it, energetically, if it's not been cleared, it's still going to be there. It's going to be there physically, isn't it, and energetically within your body. So I just think it's beautiful that you're able to have that release and to know that that's something that you are going to be doing for other women as well. And like you're saying, it's going to be instant that you're going to be able to do it for them. And so that's just beautiful. And like you say, just not something that you ever felt with any kind of, had any kind of thoughts on or ideas on or connection to, but you've trusted and you didn't reject it out of hand or anything, and you've enjoyed. Yeah, you've obviously had some really tough times, honey. Some real challenges there. Um, but it also those moments of pure joy and connection. And I think that's what's important that we because we always seem to learn things the hard way. And I think when we talk about awakening for a lot of people, it's always that kind of catalyst. It's always that something, sorry, excuse me, I've got a watery eye. It's always that difficult circumstances that kind of, make us start to sort of question the world and the way things are and what's going on around us and the way we're feeling and everything. Those points where we just kind of feel lost and bereft. But it doesn't always have to be like that. And I think as we shift and as we raise our vibration more, we can learn in easier ways because we can take more notice and be more attuned to the signs and more willing to sort of go with the flow so that it's not always having to be the kind of the shock to the system every time. So I think it's like a human thing. It's a human 3D thing having to learn the hard way. But I think it's, hopefully that will change in future. And the more enlightened and aware we become, then hopefully we don't have to go through the trauma every time. And I have noticed sometimes when I'm doing card readings for people within the spiritual community, so people who are kind of already on their awakening journey, there's a card that quite often comes up in the angel deck, and it says, basically the worst is now behind you. Um, and I think that's true for a lot. Not that we don't still have those challenges and things, but it's the way that we feel about things. We react differently now. We're able to process things more easily. We're able to get back to calm and to ourselves and be more centered. And so it's not going to seem like all these awful kind of challenges anymore because we've kind of been through that and we've had those lessons and we can recognize what the lessons were. So I think that's why it's starting to come up because it used to come up quite very rarely, but now it comes up quite frequently in those readings. So I think that I find that very reassuring. And I love to be able to say, "Oh, look at you got this card, this card." I think it's called Xana. It's in the angel deck. Yeah, Xana, the card's called in the messages from your angels deck and everything. And I'm just like, oh, it's a lovely card to be able to say, "Oh, look, yeah, the worst is now
And things
behind
will
you."
still happen to us. We're not immune to life's bumps in the roads. And it's just seeing the higher perspective of it, maybe like when I reversed the
Yeah,
drive and that guy, Kate's heard of this over and over. Everybody in the car, some holidays was like, dogs, kids, going to pick my mum up. We're having a beach day. The teenagers wouldn't get up. And then I reversed off the drive, came to a stop, and this van just went bang. Like, I was like, oh my God, the whole car flipping shook. The puppy didn't really like the car. She's just, the boots all caved in. Anyway, and you just have to think, like, why? what that split second, why did I have to get off the drive at that moment? And I could go into all the reasons why and what happened afterwards, but it was a huge reflection, so to speak, of how I
Yeah.
dealt with the guy. And I had to really trust. And once I trusted everything, touchwood, the insurance company are saying it wasn't my fault. Although when you reverse, it can sometimes be seen as that. But because we had some footage and things like that, so it was just like, yeah, it was an interesting one. And luckily, no one was hurt, anything like that. I'm not saying like that was a huge, major, life-changing incident, but you sometimes think if you're being told you're protected and you've got your guides all around you and this and that, and then you're like, well, why did someone just go into the back of me then? And I've just got to deal with insurance companies, yeah, but you just
Yeah.
need to take a step back and think, right, okay, it's a lesson. They want me to reflect or read into what's going on here in my energy and try and clear it. So,
Yeah, yeah, but I think I mean, nobody was harmed. I
mhm,
mean, yes, it was an inconvenience, but also it's the way that you dealt with that and dealt with that guy because he was the guy that ran into you. He was quite awkward, wasn't he? He was being difficult about things and everything like that. But it's the fact that you were able to stay calm and assertive and didn't allow yourself to sort of be bullied or influenced and just dealt with it really, just dealt with it and got on with it. You weren't kind of stressing out about it at the time at all. So I'm guessing maybe in the past that probably would have thrown you more if that had
yeah, I
happened,
would have just
or
said to Justin, can you text him? Can you do this? But I was like, I'm just going to say this to him. I'm just going to do that. And he was like, yeah, just say it. Like, I think it was more of like an empowerment moment of like that
yeah,
divine feminine. And now
yeah,
there was a term, mansplain. He was mansplaining how insurance companies work. And I was like, oh, thank you so much for, because I do actually know, like, and isn't it interesting how then I was like, God, I've not been spoken to by a guy like that for a long time. Like, I think it's more about, yeah, like not and taking it so personally, just saying like, right, okay,
yeah.
out because you've got to take control here and just be like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not one, I'm not being manipulated, and two, I think I know what I'm doing. Thanks.
Yeah,
He's like, yeah,
yeah. But
you've
like I
got this.
say, yeah, but yeah. So you didn't let him, but also you didn't get into how very dare you mode either. So well, that's good, isn't it? It is. I do notice that different things, and now I kind of laugh to myself and I think, God, I would have been so stressy about something, and I don't usually get that way. If I do get that, it probably is because I'm just tired, tired or overly day. But again, I can use it. I can recognize that and think I'm actually tired. And that's what this is. So this is I need to take a step back. I need to have a rest and everything. I mean, not. I mean, it's only a minor thing, but we're in Spain and we travelled for 6 days because normally we fly over. But we went on a bit of a road trip this time and we've been through France and everything. And then we took a detour to go up north of Madrid to visit my daughter because she lives up there. And then came down here. And obviously it was a relief to, I mean, I enjoyed the road trip, don't get me wrong. And it was lovely to see my daughter because I don't obviously get to see her very often. So it was great to have that time. But it was a relief to get here and think, oh, right, now we can totally chill and we're not having to travel every day and not sort of packing and unpacking and everything. And then we have, the master bedroom is upstairs with an ensuite bathroom, and the toilet stopped working, and it was a little bit unpleasant because the water kind of came up in the shower and everything, but my husband just sort of cleaned all of that up, and we were kind of looking at how much it was going to cost to replace it all, and it was looking at probably at least 600 euros, maybe more, maybe up to 900. But again, not sort of stressing, and then everything sort of fell into place, and there's a Spanish lady who lives here who speaks English, and her brother's a plumber, and he knows how to fix it, and it's only going to be 100 euros, etc., etc. But before all this, even before it got sorted or we'd found someone, I just said to my husband Ian, I said, "Oh, aren't we lucky?" And he went, "What do you mean?" I went, "Well, because we've got another bathroom. We've got two bathrooms here, so it's fine. And yes, it's a bit whippy upstairs at the moment. We've got the windows open, but we can close the door to it. We've got two bedrooms down here as well. So we've not actually been particularly inconvenienced by it, but I would have completely stressed out and like, oh God, why is this happening now? And can't we just relax and enjoy our holiday and all of that? But this afternoon, the plumber was supposed to be coming back tomorrow to fix it. And I was having a session. I was supposed to be on the receiving end of a session, going beyond the veil session this afternoon with the lovely Vicky, who's a trainee facilitator. Obviously, very much looking forward to that. Um, and it's my husband's out playing golf today, so it all worked out nicely. Having recording this session with you, then having a lovely afternoon going beyond the veil session. And then the Spanish lady Anna knocked on the door to say her brother's coming this afternoon. So I've had to cancel my session with Vicky, and I did have a bit of a moment. Mostly I feel bad about letting someone down, and it's just not practical for me to do that. I would never sort of cancel it last minute, unless it was absolutely necessary. But again, once I'd left that message, and she and I have sorted out another date for next week, and I just know that I don't know what the reason is why I'm not having that session with her today, but I know there's some reason behind it. So and I'm able to just relax and be like, yeah, it's go with the flow, and I'm still going to have my session, and it's going to be next week, and it's obviously just going to timing wise, it's going to just be better. And rather than going into a like, oh, I feel really guilty because I've let somebody down, and woe is me because I was really looking forward to that. It's just like, oh yeah, this is all happening for a reason, and it's all good. And at the moment, it is better that we get our toilet fixed. Sorry, that's not the nicest of subjects, but
but I work like that with my stepdad because we've got this thing because the clients that we work with, and it's we like facilitate, we bring investors to the developers, to the clients, to the people that own the golf course. So we're like sort of holding all the
Kelly, you're frozen.
Oh,
you're back. You're back. Sorry, you just froze for a moment. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like with my 3D business, there's no like set pathway, and sometimes you get a few knockbacks. So some of the developments, the local sort of councils, I don't know if I'm still frozen, am I, Kate? Or are you frozen this time?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if it'll be the same for anybody watching this later, but for me, you actually froze then on screen and I couldn't hear you.
It's saying my internet is unstable, so maybe I'm not supposed to talk about that. But what I think
Well,
all I was going to say was that I use that a lot with my 3D business as well. Like you just have to trust if you get a setback, it's to, like I said earlier, allow space for something else to come in. So I will
yeah. And I think if you just trust that, if you kind of recognize that, oh yeah, it's all fine, I mean, I could laugh now because somebody else might be thinking, well, that was no big deal. So what, your toilet's not working. But, I know that's something that I would have just completely stressed out about. And it's like, oh no, having to stay in to wait for this plumber and all that kind of thing. And I was like, well, hey, we're here for 3 weeks. It's all good. And yeah, we've got another bathroom and we don't have to go and stay in a hotel instead. It's all just fine. And because I didn't stress or worry about it, everything has fallen into place and it's all getting taken care of, and it's affordable. We're not having to pay some crazy amount of money for it. So and that's the other thing that's a lovely little synchronicity is this plumber, this brother, is because the type of toilet that it is, it's a Saniflow unit and it's an old one. So most plumbers would not know how to fix something like that. They would just have to replace the entire thing. Whereas because he works at the hospital here and they have the same kind of toilets at the hospital, so he's an expert in fixing them. But it's like, what are the chances, and it's just like the lady who's the chair of the sort of the residents committee who and it's her brother and she happens to speak good English because I don't think my limited Spanish would have been able to explain to him what was talking to discuss sunny flows and things. It's a bit beyond my reach. That more like a hello, good night. How much is the bill, please? Thank you.
I know I'm laughing because my youngest has got a Spanish written test coming up, and he's allowed to take some notes, and I'm talking about holidays and things, and I don't know whether he'd stayed in a villa and the Sunny Flow toilet broke, like that would be part of his curriculum,
Well, my daughter, because she's actually applied for Spanish citizenship because she lives over here now, and she's got a test on the 12th of this month. So we'll send lots of positive vibes to her for that. But she's fine with all the written and everything work and reading it, and but it's the verbal test, it's the speaking test that you have to do, because you could be given any one of the various scenarios, and you just have to talk about it for 3 minutes. So I know. So I was trying to say to her, well, you need to do lots of practice and everything. But I can just you can imagine how your mind just goes blank, isn't it? Like talk about your childhood for 3 minutes. I'm like,
Yeah, absolutely. Let's
but
hope
they're
it's
not
not
looking for
backfire.
anything. Yeah. But again, it's overthinking it, isn't it? Because they're not actually. Oh, they're looking at it. Just say you could just say things. Well, I was born in England and I lived in the house and I have two brothers, and they're only looking for simple sentences. It's not like you have to sort of deliver some massively fluent, detailed monologue or anything. It's just 3 minutes, and it can just be sort of a list of facts about you.
That
But
is taking me back
we,
to school French
yeah,
exams.
yeah. But again, it's because it's that kind of making things more complicated. We have to make things more complicated than they need to be, don't we? Because we overthink them. And if you just kind of think, well, yeah, I can just having that awareness and that self-belief, yeah, I actually am capable of doing this. I can do this, and I don't have to overcomplicate it, and I don't have to get all stressed and wound up, and I don't have to go with what if this and what if that, but just trust. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I mean, it doesn't mean we don't prepare or we don't put any effort in. It's not about being completely passive. But it's about taking inspired action, isn't it? And it's about trusting, knowing when to act and when to step back and when to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when we've mastered that, then we'll have like the Holy Grail, won't it? Is the answer to the life, the universe, and everything, I suppose.
Yeah, I know. Well, up the yellow brick road and into the Crystal Palace. We'll let you know
And
when we're there.
yeah, yeah. So we're all still very much a work in progress, aren't we? And I think it's just not about trying to be perfection. It's about enjoying the process, enjoying the path, and just having that trust. And I think the one thing that I learned recently about soul purpose is it's not meant to be all strife and difficulty, or it's not meant to be something. It's not about duty, even though it's something we agreed to before we came here. It is something that should feel joyful. That should be enjoyable. That should be fun. That has that sense of alignment of like, oh yes, this is what I actually love to do. Yeah, this is so much fun for me. This feels so great. I am just loving this so much. That's where your purpose is. The purpose is here to come here and learn these lessons, and to still find joy and be in the flow of abundance at the same time, and to let go of all of that resistance and all of that conditioning that's made us forget who and what we really are. Yeah, but we're here to just remember. That's our purpose, and to help other people remember in remembering ourselves. And that's kind of it. It's not something complicated.
I know, and it is that having fun and enjoying yourself piece. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, like us doing this. I mean, we don't really know why we're doing this, do we? Let's face it. It's not like we're just like, oh, let's do this and make some money or anything like that. We were guided to do it, so we're doing it. But I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying doing it. And quite what the exact purpose is, I don't know. But hopefully the things that we feel guided to discuss will resonate with anyone who's watching and will hopefully help in some way. And we do still want people to send those questions in, don't we? We can't necessarily answer all of them, but we'd always like to look at those, or any feedback you've got at all, or any topics or discussion, points that you'd like us to cover, please do let us know, and we will be happy to take that up. Just remembered actually, Kelly. Sorry, I meant to say this at the beginning of the session, but it does tie in nicely with everything we've been talking about. Is that I pulled a card before we started. I've got this new deck. It's another Kyle Gray one. I do love his card. I know you love Rebecca Campbell, don't you? Their energy calls to you. I think it's because they're very, very feminine. The Rebecca Campbell ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
But this Kyle, that's the box lid. Gateway of Light activation oracle. I was just so drawn to it, and I took the deck to Stonehenge with me as well to kind of just absorb some of the energy there. And I've slept with them under my pillow a couple of times, but I've not really used them yet. But the card I pulled today is called the Akashic Stargate. I don't know if you can see that. They look like mirrors, but there's portals, the different stargates. This one here has got a beautiful rainbow in it. The message on the card says aligned with purpose, crossroads, and no wrong path. And I think what the energy of this card is saying is that we often do have choices, different paths we can take. And if we feel like we're stuck, if we feel like we don't know which way to go next, or we're not sure what our soul purpose is, or we don't seem to be getting anywhere, and things like just keep coming up with that sort of blocking us, it's because we do need to make a choice. We need to make a decision. Usually that's what it means when we're in that kind of stuck phase, is that it's about maybe just making a decision, taking a step forward to create some momentum. And so one way you can do that is you could visualize yourself with these portals and just feel which one feels more joyful. Imagine yourself stepping through one of those portals and thinking like, which one am I drawn to? Which energy feels light and joyful? Or you could visualize yourself more traditionally standing at an actual crossroads, so you've got the like pointing in each direction, and it's like which direction for me feels, which one's calling to me, which feels more aligned and joyful, and just kind of see yourself taking that step forward and sort of making that choice. So when you've got options and not sure which one to go with, and you're waiting for somebody else to say, oh, you should go this way, or you're waiting for that validation or for somebody else, it's about having to go within and connect to your own higher self, your own intuition, and going which feels right energetically, which feels more joyful, which feels light, and going with that. And then things will start to unfold again. But yeah, the other thing about this is it says no wrong path on that card. And I think that's something that's come up previously when I've been doing readings or things or receiving messages, is often the destination's the same. We just have different, we might take a path that's a bit more direct, or we might go a bit more of like a meandering path, but the destination will be the same anyway. So again, we can just let go of that worry and just allow ourselves to just make a move and move forward, because nothing that happens or nothing that we learn is ever kind of wasted. And I've had visions where my guides have told me that if we look back on our lives and we always think about how we got here, we would imagine that our path has kind of diverted off, and we've gone here, there, and everywhere, and sometimes we've gone down what felt like a dead end at the time and had to come back, and sometimes we've had to retreat backwards and go feel like we were taking a step backwards, not moving forwards, and just all of that kind of thing. But if you look back at that journey energetically, even though the path might have gone all over the place, there's been this sort of straight line. There's like this, it showed me like a golden thread that was in a completely straight line, because we were always, even though it didn't feel like it to us, we were always moving forward, and we were always coming to that same point, that same destination. It's just, so energetically speaking, it was a straight line, just physically didn't seem like it or feel like it. I don't know if I've explained that very well, but I think when you sort of see that and understand that, you can let go of some of that worry because we're always thinking, am I making the right choice? If you tell yourself there's no such thing as a wrong choice and just go with the one that feels good, then that's the best thing you can do, really. And just know that whatever crops up on that path or wherever it takes you to is all part of being here and life's lessons. And that ultimately you will get to where you need to go, and there'll be those signs and synchronicities and nudges, and we're always being supported and guided along the way.
Absolutely, I agree. And it's interesting because I was just about to say, isn't it funny on that card, Kate, it says right path, and instinctively you started talking about, because I just was drawn to the complete outcomes of all the different mirrors there, but they all look
Yeah,
beautiful. They all look stunning in their own
yeah, they are. They are
way.
all gorgeous. Yeah, yeah. There's a very galactic looking one there.
Yeah.
Because funnily, at first I was thinking, oh, I'll go for the big rainbow one actually, because that's the one that catches your eye. But there's this beautiful galactic one here, and that one's really calling to me. So I think I'm going to meditate on this card actually, and just imagine myself facing those and see if I can step into that portal. That'd be nice.
I know. And a friend of mine she's Argentinian. She does Argentinian bus tours up in the Highlands.
Oh
People coming
yeah,
over. She's based in Scotland. And she said, I need to find out the exact location, but there is somewhere up north where there are two mirrors, like people have put, like, they're not natural mirrors, and
yeah.
a lot of people do retreats or energy work there, and you can look at your higher self, and I suppose maybe that's where you've come from, this is where you're going, or you could look at it
Oh
as different like portals, couldn't you? So
yeah, that
I was
sounds
trying
great. I
to
like
yeah, and
that.
she said
Yeah.
with other women, and the person talked her through it, but you are able just to go and visit it yourself. And I think that's how I had an image in my head of how it would look with that card that you showed. So
Yeah. Oh, well, I think that was a little sign there for you. I think that was definitely a nudge to find that place, isn't it?
mm,
Oh, do you remember me telling you when we were on our way here? It's when we drove down because we live up in the northwest of England in Lancashire, and we travelled down to Portsmouth to get the ferry over to France on this trip, but did a detour to Stonehenge. And it's funny because we were in the car. I was the passenger, he was driving, and so my energy and focus was on like, oh, I'm going to see Stonehenge. I've always wanted to see it, never been, and like, oh, I wonder if I'll be able to feel the energy and all of that. And so that was that's sort of my focus on. And then it's like I had a sort of daydream while wide awake. I mean, it was a vision basically, but that's what it felt like. I didn't close my eyes or anything, but I just had this full-on vision all of a sudden of you and I meeting in person. And it was up in Scotland, so you didn't come down to me. I'd gone up there, and we were like hugging each other, and we're laughing, and we recorded one of these sessions, but literally sat next to each other, side by side and everything. And you actually did some of your healing on me in person with your energy ball things. So, and honestly, it was just like a really clear, really vivid, but being wide awake at the same time that just completely dropped in that time.
yeah.
Whilst I was kind of feeling happy and full of anticipation and going to a sort of sacred site. So I think we're going to have to make that happen, aren't we?
Absolutely.
And
And that
definitely.
day, because I knew you were traveling and you're off on your holidays and things like that. And Kate and I, as you could probably tell, we chat and message quite a lot. But there are times when we are off doing other things. And you contacted me to say that had happened. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you've heard from you, because I'd had a day of, if Kate hadn't been off doing everything, it would have been, listen to what's happened to me today. It was just a full-on spiritual woo woo. What when I say to profoundly, I was like, what is going on now? Like just constantly. And I was able just to blurt it all out to you because you were like, no, it's fine. Just I'm traveling. I can read and listen to messages. Just bring it on. And
Yeah.
it just felt
Yeah.
amazing being able to like offload it onto you again. And then you told me about that beautiful vision. I was like, oh my goodness, it just fills you up with so much joy. And it isn't just with Kate. I think you can have that connection, can't you, with family
Oh
and
yeah.
people in your
Yeah.
life. So yeah, it's nice to just tell each other these things if someone pops into your mind, or there's obviously sometimes a reason.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And then I think it is, I mean, I don't mean we necessarily have those full-on visions and things. That was unusual, but there's often that time when somebody can just pop into your head unexpected, totally unexpectedly, when you're thinking about something else, and you feel like there's something you want to tell them, or some sort of message, or you feel like you need to contact them in some way. And I would say act on those nudges, because they definitely happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it just be interesting, and don't feel sort of silly or like you've got to over explain yourself, because yeah, that's your intuition, isn't it? And sometimes it's that psychic connection that you have with somebody else, and you're just feeling that energy. So, and when you act on these, because sometimes they, oh, do it later, or we'll talk ourselves out of it, or oh, it seems a bit random or something like that. But I would say just always go for it, because it's nearly always appreciated. And there's well, and there is always a reason for it. So I think we just have to get the more we do things like that, that we respond to those little nudges and things. And sometimes we might think, well, I don't really know what that was all about, or you get an urge to ring somebody in the, yeah, they're fine, or they're busy or something. But it doesn't really matter. I would just say just act on it, trust your intuition, and that kind of connection will just grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I just love it when all the synchronicities start to fall into place.
Yeah, I do. And they're just there. They're there every day, and they're all around us. A lot of the time we are a bit too busy and too distracted to notice. And sometimes they will kind of get a bit more, if it's really important, they will kind of start to kind of practically, slap you around the face with one, don't they, to get your attention.
Yeah, I think we
But
might be talking about signs in future episodes, and I've had some really
oh,
I've just
definitely,
been putting
definitely.
things to the back burner, so to speak. And it isn't about life changing, like losing jobs and things. It's just like, remember, you've got to speak to that person. You have to speak. And I was like, yeah, I'll do, like telling my guys, I'll get round to it. And then one day I just couldn't ignore it because they were just like, need to speak to that person. I was like, yeah, okay.
Now.
When I did, it was about, yeah. So that is a whole another episode in itself, I would say. So yeah.
Yeah. We'll definitely have to do that. So, well, we've kind of not quite covered everything that we thought we were going to cover today, but I think that again, it's the beauty of being in the flow, isn't it? And just going with it, and just trusting that whatever it is that we're discussing, that whatever comes up is what's needed in that moment. And like I said, when we sort of open the session, it's that sort of light and love and truth, and the hope that it reaches those who need to hear it at the right time. But I think we're probably going to have to
No.
call it a day for today's episode. We were going to talk about grounding, but that's again something we can cover at another time. And we definitely need to talk about little signs and synchronicities as well. So maybe we can ask our audience actually. So for our next episode, one of the things we were going to talk about is different ways of grounding. We were going to focus on the root chakra, the importance of grounding, and also we do really want to talk about signs and synchronicities. So let us know which you're interested in, or probably perhaps we could do both. And I think at some future point, I will share my awakening journey when that feels aligned. So let us know in the comments if you don't mind, or if you're in one of our spiritual chat groups, like the Going Beyond the Veil group, for instance. Then, yeah, let us know what you think, what you'd like us to talk about, and that's what we'll focus on for the next episode.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so yeah, so thank you to everyone for listening to us today and for being here. And just a quick reminder to please click that little thumbs up, the like thing, and also please do subscribe so that you get notified when we upload future episodes, and just to help to sort of grow our online YouTube community, because I mean, I just say earlier, we're not entirely sure why we do these episodes, but we do know that we're doing them because some people just need to be aware of the things that we're discussing. And obviously, if we can grow the number of subscribers, that means that we can get put in front of more people and just reach a wider audience and hopefully, share that love, light, and energy with more people and the people who need it. All right, then. So thank you for that. Have you got any closing words, Kelly, before we go?
No, I just like to add that when Kate and I sit down, it's never really too structured, but we like to sort of have a little bit of an idea. So just to sort of reiterate what you just said, it's just that
Yeah,
interesting how we do get guided, and we trust that by the end of the episode, we're always pretty chuffed that we both can feel it, can we? Can't we? That
yeah,
it's what's
yeah,
needed for this particular episode. But like this is infinite for us. There's no like just 6 episodes and we're stopping. So it will flow and come naturally. And I think a lot of the feedback that we're getting has been that. So thank you so much for those of you that have reached out and
yeah.
let us know what your thoughts are. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you
it.
so much. Yeah, it's been lovely. We've had some lovely messages, and the fact that people just take the time and trouble to send you a private message and give you some feedback and tell you what they thought and everything, it just is really lovely. I know again we're not always meant to need that external validation and everything, but we are human, and it does help. But and also from a spiritual point of view, it just helps us to know that we are going in the right direction and we are hopefully providing information, talking about things that are of interest and that are interesting and hopefully, useful.
Yeah.
All right then, my love. So I'm gonna get out to the sunshine now, go and ground myself and have some fresh
Yeah.
air.
Brilliant.
I'll let you get on with your day, but yeah,
So,
thank you again
we will,
to
yeah,
everyone.
hopefully, I don't know whether Kate will still be in Spain or what the situation will be next time we meet, but I think it worked really well. We just had a couple of little glitches, but yeah, we'll look forward to recording the next episode very soon. But thank you all for joining us
Yeah.
today. Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah, thank you
Bye.
everyone. Bye.